Welcome back to the Business Simple podcast. It is your host, James, back with another episode in the My Thoughts series. Thanks to everyone who's been tuning into our podcast. This is actually episode number 30. So we're starting to get through it. Obviously still have a long way to go until we're up in the thousands and that sort of thing. But really appreciate all the support from everyone. Our viewership down day is just going up and up, and it's awesome to see people tuning in and sharing it and talking about it and that sort of thing. So I appreciate all of you that are here and listening. What I'm going to be going over today is a conversation. This was sparked from a conversation that I had earlier today around what marketing actually is. And where does marketing start, and where does it stop, and where does sales start, and where does brand kick in to conversion, and all those sorts of things. And so I just want to share with you all the way that I view that stuff and how I think about it. Not that I know everything, but I think it's an interesting perspective, and it probably is polarizing compared to how a lot of people view it. So essentially, I break marketing down into two segments. Those two segments aren't marketing and sales. Sales for me is a part of your marketing process. So is delivery of product, upsell, referral. I think all of that falls under marketing. What I break marketing down into is making known and influencing decisions. So the reason I break it down that way, rather than a traditional way of thinking about it that might be marketing and then sales or something like that, is because I believe that there is an extremely large portion of your potential customers that are not currently in market. And so what your job is with those people is to make it known that A, you have a product they can buy, B, that you exist in the first place, and C, what some of the benefits might be if they bought that product from you, right? And so that covers off this making known portion. I'll go a little bit more into some of the ways you can make known, etc., further down the track, and some of the things that I use to try influence making known more effectively, or even sort of hack it a little bit. Then there's influencing decisions. Let's say 95% of people that are your potential customers aren't in market. That then means 5 are. And so what are you doing to maximize the opportunity that you have to convert as many of those people that are in market as possible? What are the tools you can use to get at those people? Where does that cross over into sales, which is a really big piece? How does non-paid media fit into that side of things? All of those sorts of things. So I'm going to start at the top, if that's okay. And so a base making known really comes down to awareness. You'll often hear people talk about brand. I believe that brand and awareness are probably the same thing, if not deeply overlapped. If you imagine a Venn diagram, your awareness and your identity overlap a lot. Who your business is, who it says it is, what its messaging is, all of those things should be intertwined. And the main focus, I believe, of that should be to trigger thought when someone jumps in market. So if you look at a brand like Coca-Cola, their marketing is very rarely sales-based. So they're not like, buy a can of Coke for $1.99. That's not their marketing. Instead, their marketing is all about like summer and refreshing and thirsty and all of these words that trigger. It's like if I say hungry, or you think of the golden arches or whatever, it triggers this McDonald's thing. The marketing itself is not actually about the product or the price of the product or the call to action or anything. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get into your head in a way where when you're thirsty, you think Coca-Cola. Or when you look at a fridge of drinks and you're already thirsty, you're drawn towards this one because of the color and the attachment and the amount of times you've seen the brand and the rapport they've built with you and all those sorts of things. So for your business, how do you do that, right? You obviously aren't going to have Coca-Cola's budget. If you are, message me because I'd love to talk about what we can do for you digitally. But if you don't have a budget that big, how do you make known? And how do you cause an attachment between a problem, a situation, and something like that, and your business? So what we do, an example of this for us is this podcast, right? I want business owners that want to grow to talk to me about how we can help them to grow. So I can put a whole bunch of ads on the internet saying, do you want to grow? Talk to me. But I can also create media that appeals to business owners that want to grow, and I can put it out in extremely high volumes, and I can have a whole bunch of people come on here that share stories with them and talk about what they've done to grow, and I can talk about what I've done to grow and some of my thoughts, and I can start to put a little bit of rapport with those people. And then when they go, yeah, I do really want to grow, I probably need to do some marketing, who comes to mind first? How competitive do you think that situation is? Do you think we get price matched against other agencies? Do you think any of that stuff happens? I can answer it for you, but I'm going to leave it up to you. So then why? Like, there is a return that comes off this brand stuff, but you have to give first. You have to and so these are the kinds of things that you can do without Coca-Cola's budget, but you can build deep connections with people online through this stuff in a way that's really impactful and actually affects your bottom line as well. The other thing that you can do is, I look at, say, my content that I post online, which admittedly I haven't been as good at. We've got we've got a few big projects on at the moment internally that's drawn up or taken up a bit of staff attention, but I've posted about 400 reels on Instagram. And the purpose of those reels is to educate people. They don't have calls to action in them. Some of them showcase our capability. They'll be as close as we'll get. But the purpose of that is to educate people, to give them something first, to help build that rapport and that relationship between us, one to many rather than one to one, so that when that person shifts to in-market, they come to us straight away. That's the way you kind of, I think, hack that and don't have to compete with people or don't have to do anything like that. Now, you can do that for free by going to networking groups and having meaningful conversations with people, which I would consider brand work. You can do that by being a guest on someone's podcast. You can do that by posting on Instagram, like I've mentioned. You can do that by writing articles that you publish on the internet or by sharing really insightful stuff on LinkedIn. All of these things fall into the brand category and are free. And then once you go across to the paid stuff, you still have a presence from traditional media platforms like radio or billboards or things like that, which we do some work with, and we do some digital simple advertising across those platforms. And that's really just with the intention of building that brand. You can also pay to drive traffic to brand-based activities. So we share all of our podcast trailers online, and then at the moment I'm running an advertising campaign that is promoting our podcast. So that's brand work. There's no call to action that leads to us being paid or people giving us money or anything like that. It's just like, check out our podcast. It is free on the internet that you can view if you would like. So that's how I kind of define the brand stuff, the making known piece. And obviously there's a little bit of that's building relationships. Then we get to influencing decisions. And so this becomes a really interesting one because this is where sales starts to come into the piece. This is where you start building advocates for your business that aren't you. This is where it gets a little bit more complex. So at a core, your business needs to be able to take awareness, turn it into an opportunity, and then convert that opportunity into cash. That's the base process, right? And ideally, you convert that opportunity into cash and other opportunities through referrals. But as minimum, you have to turn that opportunity into cash. And you have to do it in a way where the cost of the awareness and the opportunity is less than the cash that's generated, so it's profitable and scalable. So many different pieces are a part of that. So the quality of the lead that comes in, the way that your salesperson handles that lead, all of those things. But all those things reflect on your business and impact your business's presence and perception in the market. So you need to have a lot of control over how that all works as well. Little things like having a smooth sale process, having a CRM, having a system or process, how deals are handled, having all those sorts of things actually help your marketing, and they are actually a part of your marketing. So making sure that's considered is important too. There are also some hacks. So think about like Google search ads and why that's such a valuable product, and there'll probably be some new products coming through in the search space soon that I think there'll be a bit of arbitrage opportunity. And when it comes to advertising, like ChatGPT search, if they don't monetize that doesn't make any sense to me, and things like that. So once someone's searching for buy a house and land package in Christchurch, they are in market. That's where they're at. So they're a part of the 5%. You can pay Google to pop up there. Right? Awesome opportunity. It's just competitive because everyone wants the in-market person. No one wants to go and build the brand and do the heavy lifting, right? So that's a way that you can kind of hack and slide in there. But then if you do that without the correct sales process, how valuable is that click? Then how much can you afford to bid? We have an exceptionally high conversion rate on meetings to deals signed, and we don't even really stress that much when we compete against businesses, because we know how good our conversion rate is, we know our process and all that sort of stuff, and that's dialed. And I've talked in past podcasts about the amount of effort that I've put into getting that there, and the fact that maybe that was a little bit of a mistake. But anyway, you need to understand and have a strategy around converting as much attention into opportunities as possible and as much opportunities into cash as possible, and doing everything possible within that realm. That might be email marketing in the middle of opportunity and conversion. There's so many different things to consider. But making sure that piece is dialed is really, really important. You need to understand the psychology of what actually influences people to take action. So scarcity, the Jones theory, things like that should be commonplace. And when you're talking to your sales team and your marketing department, or talking to yourself about how you do both of those things better, because they impact that. And if you don't know what those things are, have a little bit of a Google. Scarcity falls under fear of missing out often. And the Jones theory is an interesting one for how that works. That's where your testimonials and your case studies and stuff like that can become a really big part of it as well. Don't forget sales in this process. And then the final piece is, and this is the one that I've spoken about in some of the events and things like that we've done in the past, is how do you turn your customers to advocates? Your customer lifetime value is a big part of the equation that decides how successful your business is. And if your customer can refer you other customers, that increases their lifetime value, as well as bringing another set of lifetime value into that equation, because you have a cost of acquisition of new clients. And if you get a referral, often that cost of acquisition doesn't exist. So let's say you pay $1,000 in commission and $500 CAC through your advertising. It's $1,500 cost every time you get a new client. If you get a referral and they come through and they sign straight away, that is free. So that adds $1,500 to that client's lifetime value that you probably hadn't considered. So by considering all of these things as a part of your advertising or your marketing, I think it allows you to better understand where some of the deficiencies might be. Do you get a whole lot of leads, but do you suck at closing them? Do you not have enough meetings with new customers? Do you figuring out where those gaps in your system are allows you to take a little bit of control? So that's my thoughts on what actually is advertising and all of the things that need to be considered as a part of that process. I think all of them share equal weight in the equation, and I've seen people with low leads be limited by it. I've seen people with lots of leads but bad sales be limited by it. I've seen people with lots of leads and good sales but poor delivery / post-customer care be limited by it. So just make sure you consider all of it as you're trying to grow your businesses. And thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Another episode of My Thoughts checked off. Thank you very much if you've made it this far. If you have, make sure you follow us on socials, do all that sort of thing, and I will see you on the next one. I appreciate you listening.